if we're actually so okay. So now we should be live. If you've been waiting for for the stream to start, and it didn't, then you have Troy to thank because I didn't realize. So I thought that it was just like there's a little countdown clock up at the top, and it says coming. You guys are you're about to go live in 10, 9, 8, whatever. And I just kind of thought, okay, we're live. And well, I was sitting there, and that's why it gave me that little warning that said,
You have to go.
yeah, it said, hey,
Push the button.
if you really want to go live, you better do it. Otherwise, we're going to delete your live stream. So that explains it. And I'm sorry that we're late, and it's my fault. And that's kind of the story of my life. Usually, when we're late, it's because of me. Like I got lost on the way to the party, or I forgot the directions, or I'm late getting home from work, or whatever it is. Of course, now we're in COVID Corona time, and we're not late, but we're
There
not
is
on
no.
time, and nobody knows
Yeah.
what day it is or what time it is. So now that we're on, and I'm hoping that people are starting to see these streams, I would like to introduce you to two wonderful ladies, Brooklyn Knight, the author of the book 5 Years. There she is, looking good from Bermuda. She's in Bermuda. She's in a whole different time zone.
Yeah.
It's not Eastern, it's not Central, it's not Pacific. It's Atlantic time,
Yeah.
which is like an hour ahead of even New York. So Brooklyn knows what's happening before even the New Yorkers know, right? And we have Lacy Laurel, who is my co-narrator for 5 years. And Lacy is all the way in Sacramento, California. Are you in Sacramento or in
Elk Grove, just south.
Elk
But it's
Grove,
kind of the same thing. It used to
California?
be
Yeah.
Sacramento.
So in California right now, it's like last Tuesday, and
Yeah.
in Bermuda, it's like next Thursday.
Yeah. Pretty
But
much.
hi, Amanda. There's Amanda Taylor. Amanda says, "Hi, how
Oh,
are you
yeah.
guys?" So, hey, listen, if you have any questions for Lacy or Brooklyn or myself, feel free to just type them in the comments. We see these comments as they come in, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So let's get to know Brooklyn first. So Brooklyn, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be an author because you really come naturally. You're really a good wordsmith.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, as you mentioned, I'm from a little island, it's very little. Like, before
Hmm.
late, when I was telling Troy, we have like 60,000 people in the entire country.
Wow.
You know?
Hmm.
It's very often that we see one another. Like, I go to the city, or I see the same people that I still love. So
Yeah.
it's a very small country.
Yeah.
But I've been writing since I was a little girl. I literally have many
Yeah.
when I was 14, and
Wow.
then recently I found something that I wrote when I was in grade, and my
Yeah.
mom has it, and it's just amazing to see that from
Yeah.
such a young age I have been writing, and so I've been writing for a very long, but just recently published in
Hmm.
2018. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you've had a lot of practice. It's just that you're just now starting to kind of pop on the scene and bring these books into the sphere where the rest of us can read them.
Yes.
So back to Bermuda. You said it's such a small country. So Eddie Grant is from Bermuda, right?
Who's that?
Oh no, I aged myself. Eddie
Yeah.
Grant, Electric Avenue.
I knew.
We're, oh no.
That's on the news.
So back in the Stone Age, there was this great song called Electric Avenue, and it was this guy from Bermuda. His name is Eddie
I'm
Grant,
looking it up.
and he sang, "We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue."
I
You
know
that,
that song. Yeah.
you know that song? Okay, that's Eddie Grant, right? And so anyway, the story was that Eddie Grant is so famous in Bermuda. All you have to do is just write if you write a letter to Eddie Grant, you just write Eddie Grant Bermuda, and it'll get to him. as long as you have enough postage on the letter. So I need to stop being so animated because I'm rocking my cam and it looks like there's an earthquake going on here. But no, that's just me bumping my desk, and every time I do it, like shakes the cam. So
I didn't see that about him being a comedian. I just Wikipedia'd it.
Mm-hmm.
It means that she knew who he is. Okay, so I'm looking at her. She knew.
Okay. It's so if I don't understand a question that I get from you, I think maybe Lacy, is it difficult sometimes to hear what Brooklyn's saying
Yeah.
to you? Okay. And I think it might just
I
be
don't know if am I having the same feedback too?
I hear a little bit of feedback, Lacy.
You're hearing feedback?
Just a little bit. I hear myself.
Oh, I wonder if I maybe I need to put headphones on too. Maybe I just need to turn my let me do this. I'm going to put headphones on, and I'm going to turn my monitors off and see if that helps. Is it sounding any better to you?
Check. Yeah, that's better.
Oh, good. Okay. How about you, Lacy?
I hear it's like an echo with hold on, let me turn this off.
Okay.
You sound better to me, Lacy. I don't hear the echo on you anymore.
On me? Okay.
You hear an echo on you?
So
I
again,
did, but it's a little bit better on yours. But Troy, I wasn't hearing the echo at all. And then I was checking to see what other people could hear, if they could hear an echo on me.
Okay.
Because I'm just on my phone.
Gotcha.
Brandie said it's a lot better.
Yeah, it is.
It's so again, it's my fault that we're late, and it was my fault that everybody was feeding back on themselves. So yeah, just blame me. I'll take it. I'll take it. So let's look at some of these comments. So Julie Price says hello. Julie is she is such a wonderful person. We talk all the time, Julie and I, and we talk about the books that I have coming out. And she's just a wonderful person. So she's so sweet. And of course, everybody knows Brandie. Yeah. Brandie's one of our favorite Facebookers ever.
And I'm excited because I'm getting to meet like people that you guys, have established connections with. So this is really fun for me.
Yeah, it's cool. I really enjoy it's so much. It's nice to meet the people that I work with because. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn and I have never met in person. Lacy and I have never met in person, and Brandie Brandie. We're actually part of the same team because Brandie proofed the book for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brandie.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. As a matter of fact, Lacy, the reason that I know you is because of Brandie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandie, thank you very much. And
Brandie is she's amazing. She loves audio and she loves romance audio, and any way she can get involved and help and be a cheerleader for something that she likes, she's just out there, and she's really good to work with.
I'll tell you what, so I envy authors because how you come up with these great stories is it's beyond me. I mean, you have this imagination that like you create these worlds in your head, and then you flesh them out with these words that are so well chosen. So that's cool. I admire that, but I also admire the proofers of these audiobooks because I don't know how to me I see a squirrel and I'm off. I'm off on my tangent. And so I cannot listen to my own stuff and with an eye on, did he say did he say the word correctly or in the right order or whatever it is. And, here's Brandie. And I get these notes back saying, yeah, you said that's instead of that is. And I think to myself, how did you hear that? And so a tip of the hat to Brandie because the proofers are what make the book sound as good as it does.
And I like to hear that because this is my first time having done an audiobook. And so to hear what Brandie's role is and how important that is, it's that's really amazing to hear what the process is when you guys end. Because I get the vision and I write it, but then what you guys do is just a totally different. It's awesome.
It really is cool. I mean, I like to think about all the moving parts in a book or in an audio book, because there are a lot of people who are involved in making it happen. Brooklyn and I came together through Findaway Books, which is it's great. That's a great organization. And as we're reading through, it started out with Brooklyn and I doing this book together. She reached out, or I guess Findaway reached out to me saying, "Hey, would you like to audition for this book?" So I did, and then Brooklyn said, "Okay, I guess he'll do." And
this is actually what happened. Let me just
okay.
So I guess it's called an audition, right? So I had a few people audition, I suppose. And when I heard, I think yours was the last one. When I heard, I was like, "That is Maverick."
Good. I like that.
Okay. That's Maverick.
Well, cool. I appreciate it. And I do that on purpose. I wait until like everybody else has done theirs, and then I like try to be the last one, so that if I'm the last one that you hear, you're just
the last
like
one that they remember.
Fine. He'll this one. Let's just move on. No. But so anyway, so we're reading through this, and there are points of view for Maverick, and then our heroine's name is
Amaris.
Amaris, which is a beautiful name. Yeah, Amaris is beautiful. And so anyway, so I'm reading through this, and I'm saying to myself, I just don't. I'm not good at. I can't carry an entire chapter from the point of view of Amaris. And so that's when I came to Brandie and said, "Hey, Brandie, I'm looking for a heroine for our for this book." And I think I sent her an excerpt of the book to say, "Do you know anybody?" And she immediately came back and said, "Lacy's your girl." And sure enough, yeah, Lacy came in, and I think we both fell in love with Lacy like right off the bat.
When I heard Lacy's, I don't know if it was an audition. I was like, "Thank you, Jesus." I was like, "It's church."
Yeah, it was.
No, I remember getting a message from Brandie and then reading the synopsis, and I was like, "Well, this is a book that I would read." So yeah, definitely. That I could be involved, and
you guys blew it out of the park.
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
I really, the more that I, once I knew I was doing the book, and then I started reading it to, prep it and get it ready. The premise of it, waiting for somebody, how long would you wait? Could you wait that long? And then how long would you wait? And then it's the whole concept of, you're waiting, but then you still want to be a part of them, a part of their lives in some ways, so that they remember, "Hey, I'm here waiting."
Yeah.
Which is kind of what he did. But the thing that what really brought it around for me was there was a reason he was seeing her in the first place.
Yeah.
And how you brought that to light, and how they got through that. Because there's sometimes when people have this idea, and they start writing this book, they kind of ignore the gritty stuff, the real life concept of it. And then they just happily ever after. And that's not, I mean, they're waiting for a reason, but he went to her, to see someone for a reason. He needed mental health issues. He had mental health issues. It brought it together in a way that was realistic, but also true to their story, and that's, I really enjoyed that about it, because I've read a lot of books, and a lot of people would have just been like, "Oh, they waited the 5 years. They had these interesting, close calls, and that was it." But to really tie that together, one, makes the book more full, but two, it makes that relationship more believable, because in real life you have these relationships, but everybody's not perfect. Everybody's not the dream catch. I mean, the dream catch or idea for this person, but it's how you deal with those real life personality things. And I really appreciated that about this book.
That was really cool about the book to me too. I think one of the interesting things that the book draws you in just by like a little, you start out with just this little thread, and you start to pull the thread, and then you get more and more into it and deeper into the story, and you realize, but in the beginning, it starts out with this guy, and I don't think this is a spoiler because this is how the story starts, is that, here you have this guy. He's a high flying driver personality, getting things done kind of guy who doesn't put up with crap from anybody, and everybody, he's feared and respected, and he's got it all together, but he has anger issues, and people are like, listen, buddy, the people are having a hard time taking you're a little bit too much for everybody in the office. You need some anger management issues. If you want to make partner, this is what you're going to have to do. But so here's this guy. He's pretty much, you would look at him and say, he's winning at the game of life. But when he goes into this therapy session that he really doesn't feel he needs, that's just the start, and then you kind of realize, oh wait, there's something behind these anger issues. And then the cool thing is that you meet a Maris, and she's pure sex, and beautiful, and so intelligent, and she's so sharp, and she's got such a high moral character that you're thinking to yourself, well, surely this is this girl is winning at life. I mean, she's got it all together. But then you kind of realize, oh, wait a minute, she's got some stuff that she's dealing with too. And you go through this entire 5-year period, and it's really cool. I mean, it's kind of cool the way that you start with these two characters who are, they're on all outward appearances really well put together. And then you kind of deconstruct them over this 5-year period, and to where you realize, wow, they've got challenges, but then at the other side of this 5-year period, not to give anything away, but it's really a gratifying book. It's a story that really makes you feel like you've eaten a fantastic meal. So.
I think my challenge, and again, being a therapist, I do have access to just the fullness of people. You know what I mean? And because I think that those two characters represented everybody, that we have that outer self, that outer image that we portray, but there's that hidden self that we have, and so even any of my books, my characters, I really try to make them very well developed, very round. That's the term that I use. But I think my challenge with this, because I am a romance author and I am an erotic romance author, I had my readers expect some level of steam.
That was pretty interesting. That there was plenty of steam in there,
right?
But it was cool the way that do everything but
right. So I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to keep her more or less ethical? Because I'm a therapist, so I didn't want to kind of, tarnish what I didn't want to, but I still had to get that steam in there. So it was a little bit of, muscle work for me to figure out how to keep it sexy and spicy over a 5-year period, to
make it flow and believable in that. I wonder, when I was done with it, I wondered, had they not had that roadblock, had they met just because of their friends, would they have really lasted? Would it really had been as much of a intrigue for them to want to stick together? Because they really had to go the distance with that and commit to it. And had they been able to have all the access to each other that they, like a normal couple would have, would it had even been a story that would have been interesting?
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. So the question from Armida, I think is her name. She asks, is it Bermuda or Barbuda? Is it Barbuda?
No, she was talking about the Electric Avenue song. She thinks that I was from Barbuda.
Oh, okay.
That's actually my auntie.
So Eddie Grant is from Bermuda, right?
She thinks it's Barbuda.
Oh, okay.
That's my auntie. That's my aunt.
Oh, okay. Hi, auntie.
Okay. I got you.
Okay, maybe so. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but that's I guess that's the story in a nutshell. It's a slow burn, but and if you're thinking, oh well, if they're not going to do it, for the whole book up until the end, if you think that's all that you're not getting steam, you're definitely getting some
There's tons
steam in
of it.
there. Yeah,
There's tons of it. There's tons of it. The steam, but just the way that the chemistry between the two characters. Not everybody can write it well, and there's a ton of romance out there where the characters don't have that chemistry, but Amaris and Maverick, they do from the beginning, and it makes it very easy to understand that he would even want to try that, to not let go of that, because most guys, you find out, oh, I can't, it has to be 5 years. Okay, well, bye. Maybe if I think about it in 5 years. But I mean, a part of it was his personality, the way that he is just as a person. But the chemistry that they had, I think, was what, to me, in my mind, what made him want to attempt to do this and to really go all in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think I think it seemed like there was something going on in him. Like he knew that she was right for him. Even though he still had all these issues he had to get through, he kind of recognized. And I think that's that's a cool thing about a love story is when you meet somebody and this is somebody that I need to get to know better. And I think that's the cool thing about great love stories.
With the insta love trope, because that's what it is, that he'll insta love. It's a trope, but for me, it's very important to make it believable. And so that's where, like I said, I have to weave in those personality pieces and that whole backstory. Like when I create my characters, I actually use sketches where I say what their favorite color is. Like I really pick them apart so that it can be real. And so it's insta love, but I try to make it believable.
Yeah, it's believable if he does like instantly fall for this girl, and I think that's something that's familiar to a lot of people. This instant attraction and this instant chemistry. But what's the stories that just where people fall in love immediately and they're just like lifetime partners and they're happily ever after. That's not believable because we've all experienced these things where you have this infatuation that kind of sweeps you up and takes you along with it, and then you get to a certain point in time where that's not the primary driver of the relationship, and a lot of relationships fail at that point in time because it's like, well, all right, so what do we do now? And so the insta love thing, even though it is a trope, you made that guy pay for it. Like you don't get this for free. You got to work for it, brother. And he did, and she did too. They worked really hard. And at the end of it, I think that's one of the cool things. Like you realize these are good people. And
and I love how it's so crazy because, like I said, this is my first audiobook. You guys literally took my characters and just made them just real. You know what I mean? Like they're already real in my mind. But to hear Maverick's voice now, to hear Amaris's voice, it took it to another. I cried.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And I'm getting really excited now because I'm very animated.
Yeah.
I think the church scene, Troy, said, that you couldn't carry Amaris for a whole chapter. When you did that church scene with the mother, the first lady.
Oh yeah, the first lady. What a character she was. Yeah.
I was like, I felt like I was in a black church. With a tambourine. It was amazing.
Oh yeah,
amazing.
That was a great scene. There were a few scenes. I think so. The one, like, I'm gonna try not to give away too much. But so probably the most difficult, scene that I had to like sit back and take a deep breath and like try to, deliver the scene as it should be seen and not like as it should be felt. Like, I mean, when you get an emotional scene, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Like when you get all emotionally involved in the scene, sometimes I mean it's almost like on the movies when you see somebody cry. You know, they always cry so like in a presentable way. You never see somebody ugly crying and you know, snot coming out of their nose and you know just being ridiculous. But anyway, so like there was a really heavy scene that where Amaris meets Maverick's mom, and they go through this whole thing, and it kind of it explains everything. It explains
I
everything
love
about.
that too about this book is the mothers, how you saw why they were the way that they were, or why
Mhm.
they approach relationships the way that they did, especially prior to
Yeah.
them. It really, once you got to that piece of the story where you got introduced to the first lady and then his mother, you really, I mean, and there were nuggets that she dropped before then that let you know their relationship with their mother is key to who they were, but
Yeah.
that really let you know why they were the way that they were, and that's what that bit of realness, because in reality that's how it is. We you know, our parents, the way that their relationships were, the people that they were, affect us and how we are, you know. And so when that you bring that into these characters, it just really fleshed them out even more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great story to get through, and in a way, it was such a nice. I like when I read books. If you were to ask me, oh, all right, so what is it about this author that you like so much? You know, and I think that there are people who can, you know, there are critics who can break it down exactly what you know what the mechanics of what makes a great author, but I can't do that. I can only say, well, you know, I great books and words make me feel a certain way, and I think that this you know this book was great to me just because I mean I can't explain what it is that you do technically that got me so enraptured in the book, but I did feel like you know I was living this book as I was reading it, and so that's it really made it easy when you say, oh yeah, you know that was the definitive voice for Maverick. Well, it was easy, you know, it was just like so easy to drop into his character and become him, especially like as we learn more about him and you know you get a fuller picture of who Maverick is. And of course, I was in love with Amaris like as soon as Maverick fell for her, I did too. So
And Linky, I know you sent me an email to say,
Linky, yeah.
Linky.
Oh,
Very great.
those
No,
two are.
yeah, he's not Linky to me either. but but I guess I would poke fun at him and call him Linky just to get under his skin. So yeah, so Lincoln is the is it Lincoln?
Blaine. And Lincoln was his middle name.
Yes, and so that's Maverick's best friend,
Yeah.
and
Now, do
they're
they have their own story in another book?
I was going to ask that. What's they get their story right?
Lincoln have actually asked for them to have a story. So my writing plate, I'm releasing another one in 2 weeks. I have another book coming out, and then I'm working on another one.
All
So I
right.
have to remember all of these things because people are asking for sequels and other books from stuff last year. So it can get, you know, the plate can get pretty full, but that is something I would love to write.
Yeah, you got to get on that. That's we need to know their story because that's I mean I just kind of assumed that there must be another story coming out because the you know between the two of them they seem to have a you know kind of an interesting thing going on as well that I was you know as I was reading about it, especially that like that moment where they all four had to come together and there was this crisis. I was thinking, oh, there's some stuff behind this story
Yeah,
too.
it's a good one. Yeah, it's a
So,
good idea. Yeah.
yep,
And I think authors, if we can pull stuff out of books
yeah.
that we've written, you can find a thread and then just, you know, tapestry with it too.
Do we know? Do we know is it Armicia or
Misha, yeah. That's my
yeah.
cousin.
Oh, okay. Well, she agrees. You got to get on that. So what's the new book that you just came out with, or that's releasing in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So this one is called Book Boyfriend.
Oh yes, I've been seeing the posts about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I don't know if I can show you the book cover, but this one is going to be interesting. So the premise is that it's a romance author, and her hero comes out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, because he's looking at her and he's like, I'm the only man for her. And she's drafted him. She's created this.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
And he comes out of the book to present himself to her as an option. So that's what it looks like. And I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of interesting to you. I mean, I can imagine like what would make you think about that, because like as you're writing you're writing this character, if this character starts looking back at you, like you're creating him, but now he's looking back at you, and I mean, clearly who else would he fall in love with?
Yeah,
more than the woman who created him.
Yes, but she doesn't recognize him when he comes, and so that's.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, she doesn't recognize him.
But he must be kind of familiar. I mean, there's got to be something about him that reminds her. There's like, there's something about this guy.
Yeah.
That's that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. So that's what's coming on May the 30th.
Okay.
And again, that has some psychological stuff too. So it's not just a cut and dry. Mm-hmm. There's always, again, with those characters who are very complex, it's going to be a bit of a, take the for a ride.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I like the idea. So how often are you coming out with a new book? How long does it take you to get through a book from the time that you think of the story, of the idea? How long does it take you to come out with the finished product? Yeah.
I try to do this thing called rapid release, which is for me, it's a marketing strategy. So I try to release every 3 months. So if I come up with an idea today, I finished Book Boyfriend, I sent it to my editor on, let's say, Monday. I'll take a week off and I'll start writing, and it'll take me 4 weeks if my characters talk to me to to write it, get it to the editor, and have it.
Yeah, that's pressure. Like you probably have some kind of a psychological thing going on with your characters going, come on guys, I need 3,000 words today. Don't let me down.
They talk to me. I remember one time, people think it's crazy, and I'm a therapist, so I handle myself like that. But they wake me up. And
really?
I have to type. I'm sure any other authors are listening, they will attest that the muse just has a life of its own. Yeah.
I keep hearing about that. So Susan
I have
Hall,
a friend that's the same issue.
Same things. She talks, or her characters talk to her.
One book, and the characters from another book are it's just flowing for her, so she can't get through the one she's supposed to be writing on. So she's just like, I had to put that to the side and jump in where it's like inspiration strikes, and you have to just jump in and get it done.
That's so cool. I mean, I really envy that. That creativity that just comes through you and allows you to like create these things out of nothing. You create these worlds. So it's cool. So Susan Hall Comrie asks, what inspires you to write IRBWWM romance, which would be interracial Black woman, white man romance? Is that a common theme in your other books?
Yeah, actually, that's my subgenre. So all of my heroes are white men, and I guess to answer the question, I just write who comes to me. Again, like my first book, my debut was called The Maid's Daughter, and that was it was set in 1954 South Carolina, and the maid was working it wasn't called the big house back then, but she was a maid for guy, and she had her daughter with her, and her boss is her daughter and the white boss's son fell in love. They grew up together because they were raised together, and they fell in love when they were 16. And so it's called The Maid's Daughter. And that was the first book I wrote. And he was a white guy and she was a black girl. And then it just kind of kept going from there. So I just write who shows up. Like now, well, not right. I'm writing an AMBW. So after Book Boyfriend, right now I'm writing AMBW. What does that mean? AMBW.
American male?
Asian?
Yeah. Asian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever shows up, I write it. But another interesting, and this is just to get a little transparent. When I was younger, I was there was this German guy who was really into me, and I was shaking in my boots, just like I was afraid, you know. I didn't give that relationship a fair shot, and I think that subconsciously, again, my therapist coming out, subconsciously, perhaps I've not dealt with that or, you know, explored that. And so perhaps that's what's coming out through on the pages.
A missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like you wish you had give it a chance.
Yeah. So that's what Susan, I think it's a bit of that, all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, you can kind of operate as your own therapist as you're moving through these books. It gives you a chance to kind of like, you know, explore all these things.
Yeah. And to kind of, you know, I have my master's in clinical mental health therapy, and to get that degree, you have to go to therapy. You know, you can't talk about your therapist. Wow. You have done it yourself. So, you know, it's all part of it, knowing myself, just being in tune with what I think and stuff. So yeah.
I wonder what makes that so sexy. The idea of like a white man and a black woman being together, and vice versa. You know, I'm sure that that it works, you know, the other way around as well. Is it just that there's like like the contrast between the two people, and in terms of like, I don't know, background, or just, you know, the difference in skin tone, or that, you know, I mean, I think we all have our own look, right? So like
I think a part of it could be the opposites attract, or you know, I don't know the official name of the trope, or where, you know, from different sides of the track, you know,
the tracks.
Yeah.
I know it's, you know, we're in 2020, but even the taboo nature of it.
Yeah, I think when people started writing the trope, it was definitely more taboo than it is now, than it's considered now. But I think, that's one of the things that it started off being. You know, it's funny for me because when I started narrating, and then it became clear that romance was going to be my bread and butter, what I did the most of, people would ask my husband, what is she up to? Because I worked in I worked at a psychiatric hospital for 6 years, and then I got married and started having kids, and so then I just stayed home with my kids, and we ended up with 5, so it kind of made it impossible to go back to work. Just because there was just always something going on here. And so when I started narrating, people were just like, oh, she's working. What is she doing? Oh, she's reading romance. Oh, okay. And then with some of our closer friends, they would ask my husband, wait a minute, so what is she reading? And so he would give them an example. We'd be somewhere and I would, you know, show them, and they'd be like, they'd look at him and they go, are you okay with that? Like, I've always wondered. And he would say, oh, well, yeah, but most of the stuff she reads, it's not her type, so I don't really worry about it. And they would be like, huh? Because my husband is half Filipino and half white. And so depending on what book it is, he just doesn't think about it. But it's been the books where it's the BWWM that he's kind of like, well, wait a minute, what are you reading? What is this? And I don't know. And so it's just this thing that we have where I don't really he doesn't, I don't think he's ever listened to I know he's never listened to a full book of mine, but let alone when I've shown him snippets, it just depends on what book it is. And depending on what it is his comfort level, and so he's all, I know you have a type and that's not it, or, and I'm like, but it's a book. Like, you get that's just like it's not a real thing. And he goes, yeah, but you're throwing real voices in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're funny.
It's funny. I'm never like, I'll read any number of kinds of books, and I'm never, I never shy away from like acting out scenes that are like really, I don't know, sexual or emotionally vulnerable or whatever. That doesn't bother me at all. But when I know, like my wife, if I know that she's going to be listening to, to the book, I get really self-conscious. And, and she's very, she's very sweet and encouraging about everything that I do. But I don't know why, like I get self-conscious. I remember when I first started reading audiobooks, thank God, the books that I first read, there's this author, she's a great writer. And her books were just squeaky clean. They were all historical romance fiction, and they were all like manly cowboys, and the heroines were they were always like spunky women who had more, they had more than people gave them credit for, and they found each other and so forth and so on. But I mean, the books were so clean. I was really fortunate. My mom was, of course, my first fan, but thank God that those were the books that she was reading, because I never had to worry about,
I have
her reading things like
that I don't, like a lot of my family members, they don't. Lacy Laurel is not, that's not my name. That's not the name that I was given at birth. And so they don't know what name I narrate under. So they're constantly looking under my name. And they're like,
well, that's good.
She doesn't do anything. She doesn't have any books. What is she doing? Like they don't.
What does she do for a living?
And
you're not working, are you?
That knows the name, but forbidden her to listen to anything. And I'll come out with an occasional book that she can listen to, but it's very, I think I've been doing this since 2015. There's like 3 books that I'm like, here's a book for you to listen to.
You don't do much, do you?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're looking at Lacy Laurel and
she gets antsy, wanting to hear stuff. And I'm like, no, not really for you. Not really something I want you. I said, you could read the book, but I don't want you listening to me do it,
Yeah.
I got back, I guess, one of the, and so again, 5 years, it's a slow burn, but there's a lot of steam. And Troy first gave me back, I don't know what chapter it was. I felt so horrible, but I was like, wait, he must do this on a regular basis. But I wanted to say, I'm so sorry.
Oh man, no, it's good. So Troy Duran is my real name.
So people,
I just kind of decided at a certain. Yeah, I said to myself at a certain point, I've done one book with a pseudonym, and that was like, it was like an erotic vampire book, and that was like way back in the day. But I just kind of got to the point where I thought, well, all right, so where would I draw the line, between my, my what I would, let anybody see or whatever, and then I realized, well, I'm never going to be president of the United States because my past will not allow. Like, if you dig deep enough from, in my past, I'm not going to be I don't have to worry about that anyway. And
I think for me, it was there. I mean, there's a couple of aunts that I have. Our family is very large and very diverse. So there's this, like, we have a rule with my husband's family. We don't talk politics when we go to family gatherings, because we don't all believe in the same thing at all. And so we don't even really mention politics or anything like that. Money and politics, we just don't do it, because we rather enjoy the time that we spend together. And so there are some aunts where I'm like, I don't really need them knowing my business. But for me, the big thing was my children. They were, when I started, my 14-year-old and my soon-to-be 14-year-old and soon-to-be 12-year-old, they were at that age where they're starting to love Google and just type names and discover things. And I did not want them to, I mean, some of the covers, I'm like, I really don't
Yeah.
need them looking at that. That's not,
Come here,
as
listen to what I found Mom saying on this
yeah,
audiobook.
exactly. So that's why I kind of did that with Lacy. Now that they're older, they just know, oh yeah, I don't want to see that. Like they're more, but I still have little ones that are 7 and 8 that are going through that phase. So once they're all of age, I think I won't care as much. But for me, it was just the whole Google, because the things that they would look up and then show me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need you seeing this. I don't need you doing this,
Yeah, my daughter and I have this unspoken agreement that she knows that Dad does some audiobooks or something, but they're probably like technical manuals or something. She's not even gonna investigate or entertain
No,
any.
my almost 14-year-old, he's at the point to where he's just like, oh, you're working? Okay, so when can you buy me something? Because that's what he equates it to. It's not even, he doesn't even care so much now about what it is that I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's that I can now get him whatever shoes or, whatever else the teenagers nowadays are really wanting.
Yeah.
He knows when to ask.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is not my real name. I don't know if you guys knew that.
It's a cool name, like Brooklyn Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's neat to. I mean, I can see the benefit to not using your real name when between the stuff that you do, and then you deal with people, person to person.
For what you do for your day, your career, career, that would have to be interesting. And I worked at a psych hospital, and it was inpatient, and the patients, I couldn't see any of those psychiatrists writing in romance and using their real name at all whatsoever. The things that the patients would dive into and focus on, instead of focusing on what they should be thinking about, it would just give them that leeway, as well as coworkers, and then administration and stuff like that. It gets kind of tricky.
Yeah, that's a fascinating bit. Well, I to me, it's a fascinating idea, to work in mental health, but I'm sure that it has to be draining after a while, like having to. As a therapist, it would be gratifying to me to be able to help people with issues. But at the end of the day, after you've seen, you've been listening to people's problems, all day long, that's got to be draining.
Yeah. And you quickly realize there are certain populations that you can't work with. And so I think that's also part of, being authentic, and me knowing myself, knowing my limits. Like, so for example, I don't do very well with domestic abuse, like the women who are battered women. I'm not sure if there's some more, but I don't do well with that population. So when I was working at employee assistance program where we were doing counseling for businesses, my boss, she would kind of divvy out the cases, and she knew, do not give Brooklyn this one.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. At the hospital, it was more of a, when people come in, it's an urgent situation, so they get whoever's on call. But very quickly, because I would the staff secretary, and so very quickly, when they were giving me the files to make, they would say, I'm not keeping that one. That one's going to probably go to this. That's their thing. And they knew, and then I could quickly learn, and I could say, okay, this is the diagnosis, the situation. I knew what doctor to call to say, the on-call doctor admitted, but they're going to be giving you a call tomorrow saying, hey, I have this patient. Because they each had their niche. They each, even the children's psychiatrists, they stayed far away from the adult unit just because they didn't want to they knew what they could handle and what was going to work for them. And I think that's a very important line to make, because you do, like you were saying, you take on so much of what your patients are going through. So you mentally have to be able to put it in a box so that you don't take it all the way into your life. So to know what you can handle.
And that would be tough.
Even coming from the do no harm. So for example, I don't deal with abused women because my personality is the opposite to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I cannot develop enough empathy
Mm-hmm.
to work with them and do a good job with them. So because I know that about myself, I can say, oh, I'm going to go to therapy to work on that. But in the meantime, I'm not going to work with this lady who gets beaten every day and then she lets the guy come back. Like I'm going to give you to another therapist because I can't help you because I don't understand why you would do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also about doing no harm to the patient or the client, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Though being in that kind of a situation, you have to balance your empathy and your objectivity, and in order to be effective. I mean, you have to have a passion for helping people, but then you also, I'm sure, there are situations where it can be so difficult because they're, I don't know, how do you work with somebody and help them to gain the tools that they need to, if they're in an abusive situation and they're not seeing their agency and able to assert for them, in their own interests. How do you give them those tools, and how does it not become frustrating when they don't?
Yeah.
I mean, and because sometimes, sometimes they don't. So tell me about this, your lunchtime chronicles. This is all new to me.
Hold on, I have to step out for just a second. I'll be right back. Go
Okay.
ahead.
She's gonna go get some alcohol, I think. She's like, if I'm gonna have to listen to this, I need a drink. No, so your lunchtime chronicles.
Yeah, so this was actually a collaboration with some other authors. I was asked to be a part of this group, and the Lunchtime Chronicles was like little novellas that could be consumed at lunchtime that were really spicy. And so I contributed 2 novellas to that series. So thank you, Susan. And so Susan saying that she loved my 2 novellas.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I like that. So that's perfect with her mug. Which one, Brandie, whose mug are you looking at? You said that she said that is perfect with her mug. Right. Do you have a mug?
No, I don't have.
It must be Lacy's mug. I didn't see what mug she was using. But it's funny how, like, looking at Lacy's, let's talk about Lacy while she's not here. Looking at Lacy's, this is her sound booth. So these are sound control blankets. But
so now, are you in your sound room? Because I see the soundproofing on the wall.
Yeah. This is my room. Let me see if I can grab my little cam and show you my.
So this is where the magic. This is where the magic.
Yeah, this is where the magic happens. I've got all my junk over there. So this, if you see this little pile of stuff in behind me, that's I'm buying my son's birthday is next Sunday, and so I'm buying him a gaming computer. But we're gonna build it ourselves, so that'll be cool.
Oh, cool! That's gonna be fun. How old is he?
He's gonna be 14.
Okay.
This little guy, yeah, he's 14 going on 37. He thinks he knows everything. He's like, Dad, you just don't understand. You don't get it. You don't know what it's like to be a kid. I'm like, well, you know what? 100 years ago I was. So sit down. But so
that's where your magic happens, and that's where Lacy's magic. With that chair, it's like to see the chair. I can see it and imagine it. No. That's
cool.
Yeah.
This is my microphone here. This guy here, and this is pretty much where I spend all my time. Yeah. I felt, the one thing that this COVID epidemic or pandemic has revealed to me is that I'm a bit pathetic, and I need to, when this is all over, I need to develop interests outside this this little room of mine, because it really hasn't changed my routine at all. I mean, I've got people, on my Facebook feed saying, "Oh my God, if I don't get out of this house, I'm just going to go crazy." And I'm thinking to myself, this is pretty much what I do all the time. I'm here in my little studio reading into a microphone. Both my wife and I both agreed we got to get out and start doing some things when this whole thing is over. So we were going to go to Niagara Falls. She's always wanted to go to Niagara Falls, and
Yeah.
so for her birthday, I got us a trip to Niagara Falls
Right.
to is it Ontario?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Ontario. Yeah. So I bought a plane tickets to Buffalo, and then we would drive over to Ontario. They've got this thing called the Shaw Festival because I guess that's where George Bernard Shaw was born and raised, and they have this whole like the entire month of June is dedicated to George Bernard Shaw. They've got this festival that where they show all of his plays, and they have all
Wow.
these these cool things going on. So it sounded really cool. Anyway, we got that, and then this
Yeah.
COVID thing happens, and now we can't even go over the border, and
Yeah.
we may end up going anyway, just to Buffalo,
Mhm.
and hanging out on this side. But I don't even know if they're going to be doing like the Maid of the Mist tours or anything like that.
Mhm.
So we may have to may have to
Yeah, I've
change our.
never been to, in fact, next year, 2021, I'll be there with other authors in BWWM authors. There's going to be a conference. So
Oh,
I'll see it
okay.
for the first time. But I just, the fascination of just that amount of water, that natural phenomenon is just,
Hmm.
it must be amazing to see it.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
you think you look at all that water and you think to yourself, how does that water just keep coming,
yeah,
in that kind of volume? But there it is, and it's just
yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah.
So yeah, I hope we
You've
if
seen it before? You've been before?
never before. No,
Okay, okay.
yeah, I've never seen Niagara. That's something that so when my wife and I met probably about 6 years ago, and I think from the very beginning, she said, I'd like to go to Niagara Falls. And, for her, she's very well traveled. She was born in New York, and her father was in the military. And so she lived in Belgium and Munich and, all of these places that we've been. She's been there and or lived there. So she knew her way around. And so, given the opportunity to take her somewhere that she's never been before
Yeah,
was pretty cool. So
yeah.
hopefully we'll get to
Yes,
do
I was
that.
going to say, hopefully that'll definitely happen because
Yeah.
that's
So so there's a whole genre of BWWM stories. So it just has to be huge. I mean, it has to. This is not an uncommon interest among
no.
among readers.
I mean, if you know hashtags and all that stuff,
Hmm.
there are whole Instagram communities. There's
Hmm.
a term called swirling. So I guess
Hmm.
you swirl.
Swirling, really. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's a whole thing. And what
Huh.
I found, again, I'm a relatively new author,
Hmm.
but I think about my colleagues, and it has just been such a supportive community of women who
Hmm.
write this BWWM subgenre, interracial romance, and so it's amazing, and the readers are voracious, like
Yeah.
yeah, they are voracious, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, it has to be BWW. If you don't write it and
Hmm.
make it very clear that
Hmm.
the man is white and the woman is black, they will leave you a 1-star review. Like it's that
Wow.
clear. Like for something. So yeah,
That's interesting. But I'm sure that there have to be, I mean, there's got to be a genre of readers who like uh, black man, white woman
mhm.
romance.
Yeah. So that's black BMWM, and I've
Yeah.
not explored that, but there is that hashtag
Hmm.
acronym.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like I told you, AMBW, that's on the rise.
Asian man, black woman. Wow,
Yeah,
that is really
yeah,
that's
it's on the
really
rise.
interesting. It's funny, people are probably just I don't know, maybe we're just starting to we're just starting to explore it, and
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a fun thing to for people to start exploring. I mean,
And I
it's
think even with the way technology just kind of brings us, blurs those boundaries, like
hmm.
we're talking now, I'm in Bermuda, like an island in the middle of the ocean. And so
Hmm.
I think technology just really allows people to meet and greet and just explore, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, let me see your mug, Lacy. So Brandy typed in. She said, "Oh, it's a Booth mug." What it says may contain alcohol, or is that
Let's say
or
may
may?
contain tea, may contain vodka. Audio
Oh,
version. I don't know where
oh,
my
that's cool. I should have brought my. I've got a mug that says it's a coffee mug that says may contain whiskey.
Boy, there's a really funny comment that you have to highlight.
Okay.
Miss Boyd. I don't know how to say the first. Yeah, like what?
Oh. What?
What?
I still can't. I don't. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
But the picture is like this. Looks like this guy looks like Wolverine with his hair. So that is really funny. Let's go through some comments. So let's see. Margaret Hardy Nee Montgomery says we've been a few times as we have family. That's Niagara. We were talking
Wow.
Lacy while you were gone. We were talking about Niagara Falls,
Oh, okay.
and they were there in Christmas when it was frozen over in 2018.
Wow,
That's
that must have
interesting.
been amazing.
Yeah. New York City still closed though. Oh, so that's that might we might not have the opportunity even flying into Buffalo. I don't know what's going on out there. We were gonna go to Niagara in June, and we're like we have to decide this weekend if we're still going to, or are we just gonna kind of
Well, I have a friend that lives in Buffalo. I can ask her.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
way more strict there than it is here in California. Well,
Wow.
at least
Yeah.
where I'm at, California. I imagine if
Mhm.
you're in like LA area,
Hmm.
it's a little bit different. And San Francisco, for sure, is way different.
Yeah.
My kids
Okay.
have got me hooked on the TikTok app. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
this app you go on and people do these little snippets.
Hmm.
And I have a profile because I watch. I don't do
Oh, okay.
the stuff, but they have me hooked. And some of the ones that I love the most, they happen to be close to me in the Bay Area.
Hmm.
And one of them
Okay.
was saying how she heard that their staying home was going to last until the end of June. That they
Oh
were
wow.
extending it to the end of June.
Hmm.
But I imagine in places where it's apartments and buildings where it's tons of people.
Hmm.
That it's a totally different story than it is for me. I mean, we each have our own house, our own backyards. We've got a lot of space.
Yeah.
On the other side of my backyard is a farm. So
Okay.
I'm right at the end of my city, and then there's just farmland for
Okay.
a couple of towns over. So it's different, and it has not hit
Yeah.
as hard where I am.
Yeah.
But a part of that too is that we're staying home. We're not going out. There's no school. There's not as many opportunities for it to spread.
Yeah.
But in like Buffalo and New York and San Francisco, LA, it's totally different times.
Susan Hall Comrie loves you, Lacy Laurel.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like in San Jose, we have a great grandmother that lives in San Jose, and she's dying for us to come and visit her.
Hmm.
But like they're checking people driving over there because you're not supposed to be going and doing that. But she's, she's older and lonely and just wanting that company. So she's waiting for restaurants to open so that we can go and have lunch with her.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be so nice to go out. I'm gonna feel like like the dog when you let the dog out to go to the park and they just like they don't know what to do first and they're running around. I
And they
think
say
that's
too,
what it's
like a
gonna be
lot
like.
of the pets that people have are not used to the amount of attention that they're getting now because they're
Yeah,
not
that's
used to
funny.
people being home.
Yeah.
We have my children's uncle lives a couple of houses down, and he has a dog,
Hmm.
and we usually have to go get Peanut. His name is Peanut. We usually have to go get him because he's always gone. Like he'll go, him and his wife will go away for the weekend, and they don't want him just by himself. So we go and get him. It keeps me from having to have a pet full time.
Yeah.
My kids they get that experience without me having to have the responsibility.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten Peanut in a long time because they haven't needed us to.
Hmm.
And my kids are like, well, we miss Peanut. I said, yeah, but Peanut's parents are home. They're
Yeah.
giving him all the loving he needs.
Yeah, that's
He's
funny.
fine.
There was a meme I saw about it said something like, "My dog thinks that my boss loves me and has given me time to hang out with the dog more, and my cat thinks that my boss fired me because of the loser that he always knew I was. For the cats, it's a punishment. For the dogs,
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
the
oh my
cats, they're
God,
like,
you guys are still
whoa,
home. This is great.
this is my freedom. What is going on?
Have you guys seen like the wild animals and the ways in which they are just, well, especially the shelter in place, the 24-hour lockdown period, the wild animals were really just kind of coming out, and like we had calls in the
Yes.
middle, calls in the
Yes.
ocean.
Huh. Wow.
Like the calls would just come in and
Ooh.
like what?
Well, we
Okay.
had a snake visit us a couple of nights ago. That was kind of cool.
Was it a big one?
Yeah, no, he's a little guy. He was just like a little bull snake or a garden snake, and he was just hanging out on the patio, and the dog didn't even see him, which is good. We have a corgi, and the corgi's got he's a little neurotic, so I think if he would have actually known that there was a snake right by his foot, he would have freaked out and he'd probably need therapy for the next 3 years. But that was I heard that there is a lot more wildlife activity now
Yes.
that there are so many people running around.
Yep.
So,
Like I said, we had a call on the golf course. Like they're just coming and doing
wow.
it. Yeah, they're just out.
So when you say call, what is it? What is that?
I'm sorry, that's my accent. What I actually said was COW.
Oh, a cow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
what did
you're
you hear? You heard.
yeah. Your accent is so interesting. It's a really interesting accent. Like sometimes it sounds like you have like a New York accent, and then other times there's it's a very very cool. Why am I not thinking of the right word? It's
Blend, perhaps?
exotic, not
Okay.
So like the only word I could think of was erotic, but I said no, it's not. It's not erotic. It's exotic. So
So
yeah,
you thought I said coal, like CALL.
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I said cow.
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 Okay.
Cow.
Cow. Yeah.
Cow.
That's the way I say it. But I think you
I
say
think
it cool. Cow. Cow.
Cow.
Cow.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
you
No, it sounds more exotic that way. You go ahead and keep saying it.
Yeah.
Keep saying it that way. So Deanne Harwell says San Antonio's open for business. More importantly, you can get your margaritas via drive-through. That's pretty cool. We have we've kind of adopted this routine where like there are certain like local restaurants in our little town that do takeout. And so we're trying to support them. Like once a week, we'll order from one of the local restaurants,
Okay.
so that we can kind of support them while they're, trying to just keep the doors open. And we have this one place called Salty's, which is like a Mexican food restaurant, but it's like kind of like Baja Gulf of Baja or the Gulf of Mexico kind of Mexican food restaurants. So a lot of like fish tacos and margaritas and things like that. So they started serving margaritas that you could just like drive up and pick up and take back home. So
Cool.
yeah, we
We
like
have
that.
curbside delivery. Yeah, none of the restaurants are fully open, but you can pick it up, order, and then pick it up and bring it in. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So there's Lacy.
Okay.
Lacy disappeared. So look at that. So Brooklyn, you got a promotion.
Did I?
Yeah, so it was
moves the
me
order.
and then Lacy and then Brooklyn. Then Lacy dropped out. So when she comes back in, it puts you in the middle.
Yep.
And
I'm
now,
doing it now.
so now Lacy has to wait her turn.
Yes.
Like I'll say something, and then Brooklyn, you say something, and then Lacy gets to say something. So, all right. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything more to be said. Is there things that we haven't addressed with our Facebook Live? I mean, we've been on for about an hour, and that's not including the extra
Right.
30,
I know.
45 minutes that we took to get ready, and then. The extra 20 minutes when I didn't realize I could start the damn broadcast anytime I wanted to. And so we're sitting there going, Well, we're supposed to be live, but nobody's commenting. So
I think we've picked it apart and put it back together, and yeah.
yeah, we've pretty much said everything that needs to be said. So oh wait, well, real quick, Susan says, "What's the plot of which one? Which one, Susan? The plot of 5 years, or the plot of Book Boyfriend, which is coming out in just 2 weeks?" Or a week. Actually, it's closer to a week, isn't it? It's yeah, you're just under 2 weeks.
Okay, well, it's ready to go. So whenever it's ready.
Nice. Well, that'll be really cool to to read that book.
Thank you, Brandie.
Brandie, we love you, and you know what? The fact that you can still love the book after you've been listening with a microscope really is that's probably the best seal of approval that we can get, is that Brandie listened to every single syllable.
Wow.
And so if she likes it, then we must have done a good job. So Susan says, "How did you conceive of the plot?" I'm assuming for 5 years.
Yes. Okay, so Susan, well, I'm a therapist by day, and I'm also a creative. So it was just a what if of what if a therapist had a client that fell in love with her, and she actually developed feelings for him. How would that play out? And so again, as a therapist, I know that the American Counseling Association Code of Ethics states that, and so that's a real thing, that a therapist cannot engage a client in any way, shape, or form for 5 years, or they will be legally liable. And so I just had this, all of that came together in my mind. And so I created this flawed man who on the outside looked really good. And the therapist, who we all have our own issues, and just kind of put them together to see what would happen over 5 years. So that's how that came together.
You've had clients fall in love with you, haven't you?
I don't know. I hope, but no. Should I share that? Can I say it?
Yeah.
I had a guy who came into the office, and he was just very friendly. And my husband was coming to bring me lunch, and the client, they met at the door. The client said to my husband, "You're gonna go see that lady? She's sexy as hell. You make sure."
Oh, really?
My husband, "I just came from that therapist. She's sexy. I'm gonna get her number." That's what he answered. He didn't say it to me, but I heard about it.
Yep. That's a rookie mistake. Don't talk to other guys about girls that you're into. You don't know who that other guy is. So he blew it. So, so did you have to say, "Look, I'm going to have to not be your therapist"?
No. So the next session, he came, and he, I don't know how he found out. I don't know if he realized, he must have seen us leave. I don't know what happened. But he came and apologized and said, "Oh, I didn't realize that was
Oh, yeah.
So we just processed it right there and then. "Oh, well, what was going through your mind at the time? How did that make you feel?"
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, there has to be some
psychological spin on it.
Yeah, good stories. I mean, you have to have like so many good stories with it, that you probably can't share just because you don't want to betray anybody's confidences. But yeah, there has to be some great stories.
There are some stories. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the name of the book is 5 Years. And I don't want to I know that I've kept you guys on for a long time, and I appreciate your patience, like getting ready for the book or we're getting ready for our Facebook Live. If you guys watching the Facebook Live, you had to watch us for an hour and 13 minutes, but we spent probably another 45 minutes on top of that getting ready for this Facebook Live. So I really appreciate both the patience that you've both given us. So it's on Audible. You can search for 5 Years on Audible. I'm not saying search on Audible for 5 years. I'm saying search for the book called 5 Years on Audible. And Lacy Laurel is you can find it by looking up Lacy Laurel and finding some of Lacy's amazing books. You've got some great books under your in your stable, Lacy.
I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. There's some amazing authors, and um, I try to pick books that I would love to read. So that's why when
Hmm.
this book came to me, I was like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. This is something I would love to be able to do.
Yeah,
So
they sound great. I mean, as I was looking, when Brandie gave me your name, I listened through the books that you had, and they really are great, good sounding books. You have a good portfolio, I should say.
Thank
So,
you.
so this looks like the yeah. So
yep.
Betty, thank you for posting this link. That's the link to buy uh, 5 years on Audible, and yeah, it was so nice to spend time with you, and thank you both
Yeah, thank
for giving
Oh,
me
thanks for having me.
some of your Saturday, and it was a blast hanging out with the people that were contributing their thoughts and asking the questions and things like that. If you want, so we'll keep track of the Facebook Live. I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast, and after that, I'll it'll be posted on our pages, Brooklyn's page, my page, and on my YouTube channel as well. And we'll keep track of them. If you have any questions that come up, or you want to chat, we'll still we can still see that this broadcast, and we'll interact on Facebook as well. Does that
Yeah,
sound good?
awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you
guys.
so much to Troy. Thank you to Lacy. You guys really brought my characters to life, and I will never forget you guys.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
well,
you.
thank you.
Well,
Pleasure.
we're grateful to read your wonderful story. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll chat with you soon again, hopefully.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye bye.
See you.